Again, this is Rio from Citizens for a Healthy County. I'm just going to give a short presentation. I know it's been 2 hours and I promised it would be short, but I'm going to make this pretty short and sweet. And this is an important piece here that we want people to leave with. I want to talk a little bit about the measure. You know, the real reason for this measure, after you watch the video and you listen to Ernie, it's about protecting our watersheds and our children and our wildlife. Unfortunately, the video doesn't really go into it too much, but our current state of law allows practices that are completely unsafe, both for the humans living here, the water that's flowing through it, and the animals. So I wanted to point you guys to this photo here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you're going to get the gist of it. So this is the Citzens basin here that they showed all those photos for. So this supplies the water to Toledo, Depot Bay, Newport, Citzens, and then Newport half the year. So all those photos that you saw of those hillsides basically go to a 60-foot buffer from aerial pesticide spray. All those landslides that you see bring that soil that's been sprayed down into our river.
Does it supply Lincoln City's river? Not to say that.
No, I don't. I think Schooner Creek does. I have heard that there's been some clear cutting out there though, and if you start looking at the photos and the maps, you'll see that pretty much everywhere around here has been clear cut at some point, and we're on this rotation. Depot Bay is the one that's really gotten the focus right now. This is something that the city needs to be aware of, that they do not notify you unless you sign up to get notified, and that includes cities. So the general manager of Depot Bay called and said, "Are you going to spray there?" "Well, you're not signed up." He's like, "I'm not signed up. Like, our reservoir is literally 60 feet away from this clear cut, this giant mountain." So the chemicals on the list, on the letter that they received that said they were going to spray in the next 2 months, right? Atrazine, 2,4-D, glyphosate, and like 5 other ones. It's imazapyr, all this stuff, right? I'm just going to deal with one of them, atrazine. They talked about that here in the video, banned in Europe. You know, Tyrone Hayes, if you want to do any sort of background, just look up Tyrone Hayes and atrazine. He found that it genetically alters frogs' genes into a hermaphrodite. These are at levels 200 times below what we're talking average exposure is. EPA study says that it would cause reproductive harm to mammals, fish, and birds. So the trick is that they've never actually done a study with all those chemicals combined, and that was part of the letter that the city of Depot Bay sent to the state, to our senators, and to the Department of Forestry, and to Hancock Forest Management, which is the owner and or Wall Street firm that represents the owner, right? And said, please send us a peer-reviewed study of these chemicals mixed together, and says that it's safe for our population to drink it. The problem here is that this is so widespread, we need a fix. So we, working with an environmental group, it's a group of lawyers actually, that have been passing these ordinances across the country. So 200 of these ordinances have been already passed across the country. City of Pittsburgh, there was going to be 200 fracking wells inside the city. They went to the state said, well, sorry, it's allowed by the state, there's nothing we can do. These are the people that help people out that are at the last resort. We as a community are at the last resort here. I grew up out in Five Rivers. I don't know if you've ever heard the book A Bitter Fog. Carol von Strom, she's a member of our group. She wrote this book 40 years ago. She's the one that went to the federal government, to court, sued them, proved they were lying, they falsified their tests, and that they were poisoning the community that they were spraying. Right? Since then, right, since the 80s, we've been trying to stop this at the state level. You can see by 93, they passed this thing, they reduced the tax, they also passed the Farm and Forestry Act, which basically makes timber companies immune to prosecution for spraying you. It also makes it so that if you sue them and you lose, you're responsible for their lawyer's fees. So what we need this ordinance to do, and I hate to say, right, one of the key components of it is the right to be free of chemical trespass. Right? So this ordinance actually puts into place something that we can take them to court and sue them for. There's a lot of folks that don't understand this problem. I can tell you it's widespread. And the problem with what's going on is that the timber industry owns the state legislature, the media. Right? Why have you never heard of this giant problem that's facing our entire community? Why do we have to have this meeting to tell you about what's going on, to show you this movie? It's because the people behind the chemical industry, the people behind our opposition, right? They say they're the coalition for forest, farms, and people, right? Well, we looked them up and said, who's donating? There's about 5 actual people on there. There's Weyerhaeuser. There's Oregonians for Food and Shelter, who's a front group for the Monsanto, Dow Chemical, right? So what we're doing is we're collectively bringing you together and saying we as a community have more rights than these other corporate firms. In our ordinance, they're just deemed corporations. The whole point of this is we as a community have a right to decide about our health and about our safety. And that's more important and has more legal standing than a corporation's rights. And we feel that that is going to be something that is going to be that change that we're going to make as a community on May 17th. Right? We're going to say we have more rights than the corporations do to poison us. And here it says right in our state constitution that we do. There's one event I wanted to let you guys know about. I don't know if you've heard about Seldif and the group that's been helping us out, but you can go to their website. They have been active for 15 years, fracking, factory farms. So the head attorney of Seldif is going to be in Newport next Friday. If you want to learn more about this groundbreaking way of citizens looking at their communities and trying to decide what they want, you can come. His talk says, "Who decides? Elevating community rights over corporate rights." Thomas Lindsay is an amazing speaker, and he also has been studying the law for so long that our law is written so that we actually have a vehicle, right, as a community to stand up and make some important changes. Am I missing? Well, just before I go to questions, because I'm going to do questions at the end. Did I miss anything there? So yeah, that's Friday at 6:30 at the PAC. So the Performing Arts Center in Newport, and that's actually being hosted by OCCC as part of the Williams Lecture Series. So we're going to spread some posters around that. We're really thankful that you guys came here. We're going to open up for questions, but I would like to say a few plugs, right? I don't know if you've checked the State Department or the Secretary of State's website, but we have raised about $12,000. The opposition, just one of their PACs, has raised over $75,000. Oregonians for Food and Shelter have their own PAC. So we're expecting to see, a barrage. I don't know if you've turned your internet on lately, but you've seen their ads, right? And so we need you people to be our talking people. Right? We need you to network with your friends. Let them know what's going on. Try to clear up some of this confusion. Right? These guys have been at this for a long time. The Oregonians for Food and Shelter started when Carroll sued the Forest Service in 1977. So they've been at this a long time. They know how to spin the corporate media. They know how to make people afraid. Right? And we need to let people know that this is a legal way for us to get representation in court. So that we can say, hey, look, you just sprayed me. I'm taking you to court under this new ordinance. And more importantly than that, it's a way that we can all stand together and stand with the other communities on the coast. You saw that Rockaway Beach, right? I'm into maps. I used to do forestry. I decided to take a trip on Google all the way up and down the coast. This situation is exactly the same at every single coastal community. And they're all getting these letters. And they're not telling you that they're getting letters that are saying they're going to spray all these chemicals on your water. So it's time for us to get engaged. It's time for us to talk to the city, to the people that are in charge of our water system. When are you getting letters? Where are they spraying? What's going on? Right? And we need to work together. And that's what this ordinance is all about, is us being able to go. You don't have to go anywhere. All you have to do is go to your ballot, vote yes. Collectively, we're going to be sending a message that's going to resonate in Salem and across Oregon. Because we're actually working with 8 different counties that are working on similar ordinances that are being helped by CELDIF. Right? Lane County's got a similar ordinance that they're trying to get signatures gathered on. Right? There's folks in Coos Bay that are on the ballot right now trying to ban the Jordan Cove plant from happening. This is a big thing. This is when people say, well, this law, but it's like this is a movement of people saying, hey, we've had enough of corporations making the decisions in our community that are affecting our health. And then as Ernie Neamy pointed out, we're actually paying for it. Right? So why are we subsidizing an industry that's poisoning us? And so this is the first step. Sure, you're going to hear stuff from the opposition that it's not perfect. Right? And that, oh, well, it could have been written better. Right? We were on the radio, and a friend of ours has been working at this for 35 years, Chuck Willer for the Coast Range Association. He said it's funny they mentioned that because he said anytime there's ever a citizens initiative, their number one thing they say is, well, it wasn't written well. Right? I mean, it's such an easy thing to get people distracted. Go, oh, right. These lawyers that wrote this ordinance have been doing this for 15 years and have passed over 200 of these. And so one more great example is our own Constitution. We had to actually add the Bill of Rights to the Constitution because it wasn't perfect. Right? And then how many amendments? So when you hear this, it wasn't written right, or it's not well worded, trust that the courts and the county, they're the ones that are going to be in charge of this ordinance. You think they're going to be distracted by aerial pesticide spraying that all of a sudden they're not going to be able to use a tractor? Or this line that they're saying that, oh, well, you won't be able to spray the bottom of your boat because that's aerial pesticide spraying. This is all a way that they spin reality. And we need all of you to be talking with folks to clear that up. We don't have, I'm not going to say any members up here. We have very few members of our group in Lincoln City. We'd really appreciate if you'd sign up with us. This is just the very first step. Right, May 17th, that's coming up in a month. 16th. But we're here for the long haul, right? This is the first of many actions and much education that needs to be done for the community. So please join with us, spread the word. We really need you right now because, I mean, if you've looked on the internet lately, they're everywhere. And their little towns are, And so we need people, real people, because that's what they don't have. Right? They have this corporate machine all paid from Portland. I noticed on their checks, they wrote over 35,000 checks to the best PR firms in Portland. That's what they have. So grab a yard sign. We're going to be doing leafleting next week. It's a volunteer opportunity. We're going to meet here in Lincoln City. What are we going to meet at the co-op at 2 o'clock here? I think we're going to meet at Trillium at the co-op at 2 o'clock if you want to join us to do some leafleting next Saturday.